Hello everyone. In this video, I'll be talking about Close API on Unix platform. So Close is one API which is actually used to disconnect a file from a process in the meaning. So in the previous session, we've seen about Open API where we use Open API to provide a connection between the file and the process. Right? So if you want to close that file, if you want to close the file which has been opened, then we use close function. So this close function which will close the file which has been opened. Okay. So how do you close the file? Okay. So for that we have a syntax. Okay. This is a syntax of close function. So the syntax here is int close int fd. Fd, that is file descriptor. So here the first one what you have to use to close the file is close function. That is a function name. This function requires one parameter or one argument, that is file descriptor. So as I told you, each file will have a file descriptor value, that is unique identifier. For any of the file you will have a file descriptor, right, which that we use that to identify the file. So here that file descriptor you have to provide for the close function. Which file you want to close, you have to provide that here. Okay, that is your argument. And the return type of close is int. Why? Because why the return type of close is int is because your close function will return integer value. What integer value it return? If the close function is successfully performed the operation, meaning if the close function is successfully closed the file, then it returns 0. That is success, right? So it returns 0 on success. Otherwise, it returns -1. That's why the return type of close is int. So once the file is closed using close system call, then this function, the close function, will also deallocate resources which are allocated for the process. Okay, so this close function which also deallocate the allocated resources for the process. If that process, for example, if the process is terminated before closing the file, if the process itself is terminated, then who will deallocate all the resources? Then kernel will deallocate, meaning kernel will close all the files and kernel will deallocate all the resources which are allocated. That is in the case of process is terminated before file is closed. So this is simple explanation about close. So now we'll see how to use this close function with simple example. So in the virtual machine, in my file system, I've created one file just to show the demonstration of close API. So let me open my file, gedit close.c. So I've created one simple C program for it. So here the simple C program where I have used this close and open system call. So since we use this close function to close the file, right, to just to disconnect your file from the process. So for that, I've created this simple program where I've added some necessary header files, stdio.h and unistd.h, like that. Here, within the main function, I first used open function, because to close any of the file, first the file should be opened, right? Then only you can close the file. Otherwise, it shows some error for you. So for that, first I'm calling this open function for result.txt. So this I want to open it for now with permissions read and write. So that the once the file is opened, that file will return some value. Okay, that is a reference value for the file. That value will be stored in the variable fd, file descriptor. Okay, now once file is opened, if this file is existing, once it is successfully opened, then I just check whether my file descriptor is less than 0, because each file will have some file descriptor value, but that value normally it will give your kernel will assign file descriptor value starting from 0. But the 0, 1, 2, 3, which are actually standard file descriptor. So 0 for standard input, 1 for standard output, 2 for standard error. So of whatever files you create, the descriptor value for that file will be 3 always. The descriptor value can't be less than 0. Okay, it will not assign values less than 0. Okay, first I'll check the condition whether my file descriptor is value is less than 0. Okay, if that is less than 0, I'm just printing error message, no file to close. If that condition is false, if this condition is false, that is fd less than 0, then I'm calling close. So which will this close function will close the file, whatever file descriptor we have provided here. So what is the value of file descriptor here? It will take the value from here. This is the file descriptor value of this result.txt will be stored in this fd. So we are passing this to the close function. So if this file is existing, if the file is opened, then we are calling close for that. Okay, then once it is successfully closed, then we are just printing one printf message. Close the fd. Right? So now we'll see by executing this program. First, I'll compile my file. No errors in my file. Now I'll run it. See here, since my file is existing, okay, that is result.txt. I've given my file name as result.txt. Since my file is existing, so using that, using the open function, it has the file is opened, and using close function call. Since if the file is present, that file descriptor value normally will be more than 0. Okay, so we are calling close function for that file descriptor. Then we are just printing the message. So now, if you see, you just cross check whether my file is existing or not. My file is result.txt. So let me check where is result.txt. Here my file is existing. That's why it is successfully opened, then closed using close function call. Now what I do, I'll give some file name which is not existing in my file system. Okay, so I'll open my file. Here I'll give some file name which is not existing. I'll give 11.txt. Okay, so now I'll just run this. So since my program, in my file system, I don't have 11.txt file. So it has to print that error message. See here, it is printing the error message saying no file to close. It is a bad file descriptor because there is no files. That's why it is printing some message, error message, no file to close. Okay, so that's about close API in Unix platform. Thank you.